Hello, welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to be covering some updates, so things like the electrics, bit of building, bit of maybe I might cover the windows, who knows. But yeah, I've got to frame out this wall. I'm just enjoying a little lunch my next door neighbour made for me, very kind of her. And I need to stud out this wall so it's flush with this little wall here. So I had to chop back that wall over there. You see all that brick dust? There's loads of brick dust and it's quite messy in here. But perks of it being very airy at the moment is that I can get all my timber in this way. Gonna need to have a little bit of a tidy up after my lunch. It's a bit chaotic in here. So I'll finish this and then I'll get this all moved in and start building. So you have to forgive the energy levels, as I had actually pulled my Achilles at this point. Not related to DIY, it was at someone's wedding, maybe some over enthusiastic dancing. But yeah, getting all this stud work in so I can support the door frame when the door frame eventually goes in, and this stud frame is going to obviously hide all those supplies I mentioned, and I'm going to have a sheet of OSB, so it's going to be great for fixing into hanging all my kitchen units. Okay, so that wall is built. It's all out of 4x2 except from this bit, which is 4x3. Basically I thought I ran out of 4x2, but you may be able to see there was one more piece. And it's all tied in at the top into all the ends of those joists. Double noggined. I haven't noggined the end here. I put a few masonry fixings in, and there's packers behind there, but I'll expanding foam that whole section just to give it further rigidity. As bathroom pipes come up, go through there. But yeah, this will all be OSB'd once the electrician's been back with that OSB there. And it's done to door frame size here. I'm not too sure whether to just do a lining a little bit further out to here, but I do quite like these curved features, so I might just do lining to here and then just do it pretty standard, to be honest. But it just gets it flush as it goes down here. And once the OSB and plasterboard goes on here, plasterboard's probably going to overshoot a bit, and then I'll dab this section on and then blend it in with some hardwall. Main reason being the boiler going on over here, cabinets here. I want it to be as strong as possible when I put fixings in it, because I hate it when you put fixings in plasterboard that are dabs and the plasterboard like cracks, and it's, yeah, nightmare. And I'm actually just going to start plasterboarding the ceiling with my board lifter. So this is the board lifter. Basically put sheets of plasterboard on there. You can extend out these arms and it lifts up. So these legs move out. You're going to have to forgive the mess. Part renovation, part storage shed, and I'm moving stuff in between the rooms as we speak. I just didn't want to miss explaining this before I start doing the boarding. So when I get those boards up, which are stacked over here, it can stop being a table. Because if any of you have done a renovation and you're not hot on the mess, it can get on top of you quite quickly, and then you spend ages looking for things get damaged, and you're just constantly moving stuff around to do bits of work. So if I get those bits of plasterboard up on these ceilings, then at least I can get the ceilings plastered sooner rather than later, and then it's onto the walls once I go to fit the windows. But yeah, essentially you've got a winch that you wind up and it lifts up these arms, which is great obviously for when you're working on your own, and you've got these that fold out which catch the sheets of plasterboard. But probably the best £100 I've ever spent on a tool, as you can actually sell these afterwards pretty much for what you said, the same price as what you pay for them. But I've kept this one as it's great for lending out, as all my friends are at that age where they're starting to get houses and everything. So if they want to board over ceilings, one of my friends, Rory, recently, you might watch the videos. He was converting his garage, and to lift all the sheets of plasterboard on your own, if you don't do it day in, day out, or you're not really tall, I don't think you have the muscle memory for it. He is quite tall, he's like 6.5 foot, but he's a little bit clumsy. So things like this, great, because then you can position the sheets of plasterboard, get all your fixings in, and it's perfect pretty much every time. But I'll put you on time lapse and then you can see how efficiently I get through that room, if it is efficient at all. And yeah, enjoy. With the board lifter, you can manipulate it around quite easily. So I'll just cut the boards to size if need be, put them on there, and then I can go down
fix in all the screws. I'm just using 25mm drywall screws, which are just your standard drywall screws, but I am using 12mm plasterboard. I just prefer it as opposed to 9.
Okay, so you have to forgive if there's any bangs in the background. It is fireworks night, so lots of people letting off fireworks. But I'll show you my methodology for this craziness, this zigzag plasterboard, or at least lots of fireworks, Guy Fawkes and that. So as you may be able to see here, obviously my wall boards aren't on yet. LED flicker, I don't seem to get it on wide angle. And I've staggered the board, so I've done 2 long ones and then it's sideways, then longs again. And the primary reason for that is so there's no long lines in the ceiling, because if I have one long line going all the way down and it's continuous, those are going to be the points you get cracking. Although it probably won't be there whilst I'm here, it might be afterwards. You just want to do as good a job as possible. So same with this section over here, obviously it'll be a small section there, then it stops off, then a small section there. This will just allow me to be sure there's as little cracking as possible. Well, it shouldn't be any, but if you have like long lines, I've seen it, particularly my cousin's house, he won't watch this video, but in his front room, there used to be a massive, great big crack all the way down the ceiling, one continuous line, and it was just because the plasterboards were all butted up together. But maybe they didn't use enough fixings, maybe the plaster is just old. But yeah, that's what I witnessed, and that's what I've seen some people advise against if there's going to be movement. There shouldn't be movement in this building. It's been here 100 years and hasn't moved a millimetre yet. But other than the roof that obviously I took off. But yeah, that's the methodology of why I did that. You see lots of fixings every like 15, 20 centimetres, or in American, every 6 to 8 inches. So I've done all that with this plasterboard lifter. So I'll just show you sort of how it works. So as you can see, I've got this wheel here and this lever. So this wheel I can turn and it will lift up the board. I've got these extendable arms here which fold away, and those are just to capture the end of the board and the width. These which extend out. Doesn't have to be just for plasterboard. If you're sheeting a ceiling for another reason, I guess you could extend these right out, and that's just going to capture the ends of the board. Obviously the feet are adjustable, so you can narrow the tripod style feet if you need to fit through doorways. It all comes apart as well. But yeah, you see how easy that is, just to wind up and then to let it down. Where it comes apart, obviously this bit separates, the stem separates and the base separates in an easy way where it can be transported even in like a little hatchback car. I've got a little Volkswagen Golf that uses a work van, but yeah, it works really, really well. Not really much more else to say, it's just a cheap bit of Chinese metal that's been put together. But yeah, I highly recommend it. If you're doing plasterboarding on your own, of course. But even like these little details as they come around the corner, I've tried to do it all in one piece rather than little pieces, which will break. This section here is going to be boarded over anyway, and the walls, you might be wondering about, why isn't that chased out? Some of them don't need chasing because it's going to be dot and dab the wall, but I just need my locations to obviously poke through cables and whatnot. But yeah, for example there, that's going to be a wall light. It's going to come down into this void which we blocked up, but I need this open to get all this stuff in, all these sheets of plasterboard. Otherwise it's quite difficult because the doorway, front door, so front door's there, and then the angle is a bit too tight to come around here and then through there. You end up smacking the board on this wall. But if you go like there, it's obviously a door swings that way, you can bring in sheets straight through there and then just plonk them down there. And if you don't know, these sheets of plasterboard are 2.4 meters by 1.2, 8 foot by 4 foot, which is like the standard size for boards. And yeah, not massive ones, but this will take up to the full like 3 meter and even 3.6 meter boards, which can be really handy. Yeah, I lent it to my friend's dad. I think he used those boards in the ceiling of his outbuilding. Bought me some tasty beverages for lending it, but I'm going to get the rest of this done tomorrow because there's too many fireworks going off and I'm far too hungry. So yeah, wish me luck tomorrow, get the rest of that done, and then hopefully by the end of the week I should have everything downstairs, the ceiling's boarded. There'll be a lot of repetition of this. So yeah, enjoy.
As I mentioned, the boards aren't that heavy. 25-ish kilos these boards are, which in American is what, 55, 60 pounds. But it's more that they snap underneath their own weight. So having that support to lift them, and then you can get everything through. You see, you've got my laser set up as well, just because I don't do this day in, day out, and it makes it a bit easier.
I didn't capture the very last bit of the ceiling boarding because you run out of light quite quickly. I'll share a photo of how dark it gets because all my lights are still up there in the loft space. You can see
how dark it gets without those lights. Not great for filming.
I'm not going to board this very last section as I need to do details around here, and I'll board it just after those windows are fitted. It's going to be quite complicated. I'm going to need to insulate above here. Otherwise it'll be a very cold spot, which you can sort of see here, but I'm getting on moving stuff around, obviously storage shed, workspace. You can probably see a bit more clearly here. It's just over like 3 meters and then over 3 meters this way. Door here as mentioned. Today's objective, boarding these ceilings, so putting in any grounds where I need grounds for plasterboard, so that means like sections where I could fix plasterboard onto and try not to waste too much. So like here where this wall is sort of out of square to the rest of the building, the joist runs out of square to it, so a few noggins across there. I'll probably do 4x2s. This is just to hold plasterboard. So 4x2s on edge, fix through that side and fix through this side to go underneath that cable, and then it won't interrupt any insulation, which you're going to get anyway from those noggins. And you can obviously see the insulation there. But this room's a mimic of the other room across there, in that I'll have to insulate above this window after the new window's fitted, which they come in the next week. So I'll also need to do some sort of reveal or grounds to fix my plasterboard into, so it'll look like a bulkhead as such. So this wall will continue flush along here, but it will have a squared section there, which is all then going to be insulated, as it's kind of at the moment exposed to the outside elements. Right, so I'm moving everything around in the house at the moment. Obviously I've plasterboard the ceiling, I spilled a bit of foam, so I need to scratch that off. And I've left that section blank so the electrician can run his cables down, and I need to board these walls here with the last of my moisture board. These obviously being the tile backer boards with that rubbery waterproofer. Goes very, very solid.
I'll go into more detail about the bathroom in a separate video. That was just a sneak glimpse. Just getting on with this bedroom though, you can see I've put in a 4x2 on edge in the middle of the room, which is where your pendant light as such can go through, so your light in the middle of the bedroom. One of the bedrooms will also have wall lights, the main bedroom, which is this one. You can see the markings on the wall where it says WL, and again, these are 2.4 by 1.2 meter sheets, and it's lifting them up in one go, no problem whatsoever. Loads of fixings, just repeating that across the room and getting it all boarded. It's not too arduous, just making sure I've got all those grounds in. As I mentioned, the room's a little out of square. And then out the front, I need to do some steps leading up to the house. This concrete's all old and a bit cracked, so it also runs away from the building, so I need to put in more of a level footing as such around the house. And where I'm bringing out the front door, I also need to do some work with the lintels. So I'm actually going to sit the front door on the lintel that you would have seen in the previous video that I put in, that bottom lintel there. Just digging down so I've got enough of a footing where it's leveled round, as it's about, I'd say, 10 inches, 20 centimetres or so in ground difference. Sadly, I'm getting rid of the arch, which seems to be a prevalent feature in my renovations, as these houses were built with a storm porch in mind. So when they had the old timber frame doors and windows, they would swell if they got wet. So what they did was often created like a storm porch or one of these arches, and it is a nice feature, but it doesn't have a home in the future of this house, sadly. And yeah, just digging down, and it's the British winter at the moment, so there's a lot of darkness around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So working in the dark, if I'm outside, is a prerequisite. So I'm just mixing up some ballast, quite strong mix. It doesn't need to be, it's only supporting some steps, but...
So you can see the slab's poured quite thick down in this corner, and it runs out with the ground. can see more clearly here as the house slopes that way. But I may come out a little bit further, I'm not too sure. It's only to sit the steps on. Just want a big top step here all the way across, and then it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, or rather it'll be 4 steps and that big top step. The ground is going to be made up a bit around the front. I've got still loads of this rubble to get rid of here, over there, and break up all the concrete. Okay, so all hot and sweaty. I just had a massive delivery of all my windows, all the glass, everything. So it doesn't do it scale, but that's 2 meters, just over 2 meters frame. Loads of bits of glass. I really shouldn't stack them like this, but they do have the stickers on. I'm not going to stack them like this for very long. You get them shifted onto some bits of Celotex. Just wanted to get them in, as it's just the curbside delivery. Although the guy did help me with most of it to the front door. But these are all for the big bow windows. See the curves, all the welds, and then you've got the big box bay window. All those bits, and I've had my doors arrive. So I've got this one here, which is my big front door, and then I have my back door there. Yeah, very busy in here at the moment, so tidy up before doing any window fitting today. And then all these bits, just, oh, and that massive, almost Celotex sized piece of glass, which I couldn't carry in on my own, so that's there at the moment, just on top of the Celotex, nice and safe. Nipped off during my lunch break just to collect this delivery, and yeah, now I've got to head back to work and then come here in the evening. But yeah, plasterboarding obviously is all done, but it's eliminated any light, and also as well I've got doorways blocked off, which would be letting in a lot of natural light at this point in the day, so I need to get that sorted. But yeah, hopefully plan is this one first, this big door there, and then I need to do a brickwork repair to the inside skin, which I can do afterwards. And I also want to get that window in today. Probably won't have time to get that one in today, but that will be next on the list because I can do those ones solo. And this one will probably be the first one that I do. So it'll just be outside skin, butted right up to it, and it's a small non-opener. So a good bit of practice before we go fully into it. I did help a friend fit some new windows and doors to his garden room the other week, the plastic UPVC ones, but then you're fixing into timber, not 100-year-old crumbly bricks. So yeah, next clip you'll see of me is me going about fitting those windows, so I fit the frame first. But yeah, enjoy.
So fitting the windows, these all need to be signed off by building control. You can get wall straps which fit into the frame, and then you can fix it to the inside skin or stagger the cavity. However, I'm going to insulate around the inside of the cavity in these particular bits, and I'm going to do it with the Celotex/PIR foam insulation. But this is just a small bathroom window and a small kitchen window, which is a non-opener because I'm going to have my boiler there. And then I did have enough time to fit this window as well. Didn't get a chance to glaze it. This one was incredibly tight, it almost didn't fit in. So yeah, don't know what was up with my measurements that day, and the brickwork isn't the best, as I've mentioned many times on this house, so got to work around that.
So forgive the sound of rain. You've obviously just seen me fit a couple of those smaller windows. I've not glazed them because the rain. I've not foamed them because the rain, and yeah, not siliconed them because the rain. I've siliconed the seals, so all around the back of the seals, and I'm on to a different one, just trying to work it out really. Have a look at this. So this is the box bay window section, and it comes in these 5 different parts. So I've got this pane here, just one opener. I believe it could be interchangeable with the other side. I can't remember how I spec'd it, whether it was to open that way or that way. But yeah, and then you have these posts in the corner. I believe these are 70mm, and they have a bit of metal in the middle for fixing through to attach these 2 pieces together. I have the same down here as well. So in this corner, to attach these pieces together, and then the massive pane of glass that I couldn't get into the house. It's almost 2 meters along that pane of glass. It's the size of a doorway, pretty much. Like, I'll try and lay down next to it for scale. So feet all the way down. I'm not at even the inside of the glass frame there and here. And I'm 5'10" or 5'11" with these boots on. So it's over 2 meters. As you can sort of see there, it's got the 2 little openers and that one. It was the biggest window I could spec, and it's for the large box bay window opening over there. But I'll just show you those small windows I've put in, which is kind of the calm before the storm. Tomorrow I aim to actually fit that back door, as I don't really have a way into the place now that I'm starting to block up the windows. But in there I've got the small bathroom window. Could have done one large piece, but I like to open the top window, let all the steam out. It's 1.6 meters width on that bathroom. Also got in this one. Again, I'm not doing cavity closers on these properties. The brickwork's all over the place. 1, 2, 3. There are wall 4. There are wall ties in there that I added. I added 3 of those. And to get a cavity closer on there, it's not really worth it. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to fill it with PIR foam. So the rigid insulation, which is underneath here, this stuff, that foam, as that's 120 mil. I'll fix it across the edge, and then I cut an angle on it, so if any water were to get into the cavity, it run away from the inside skin. Not that that's really a possibility with the new roof and the overhang of the new roof. Sorry about the light there. But yeah, obviously that one's in. Still need to glaze it. It's a pretty decent size, and it's got the vent at the top. But yeah, it'll be expanding foamed around any gaps that are presented from the PIR, and then I will dot and dab moisture board on with more foam to the tops and sides to make it as firmly efficient as possible, like a bubble, like a bubble almost. You're gonna have to forgive the mess, because there's not really a lot I can do at this point, because there's too much stuff. So need to get more stuff on the walls and more stuff away. This one you'll see fitting next. This door, which is going behind that OSB as mentioned already. And that big box bay window is going here to stop the rain from coming into my building. I'll be going in on Saturday. And then we've got this little non-opener here, just to let some light in. Yeah, sink here. It's only obviously a small spot, but massive window over there. Massive window over there. And then a half glazed door behind this OSB. But yeah, these will be foamed tomorrow and siliconed, if they're siliconable, if the weather's decent enough. If the weather's not decent enough, then obviously I'll just do it a different day. Saturday is meant to be nice, and I'm currently on, well, Wednesday. No, I'm on Thursday. It's Thursday, losing days. So yeah, Saturday is the big day where I've got a friend helping me for half a day. So we should be able to get this box bay window in, and I'm hoping one of these ones, so one of these big bow windows, if I can crack that with him, and not to jinx it, not crack it, if I can get that in with him, can sort of work out how to do it on my own, or get another friend who doesn't necessarily need to know what they're doing to give me a hand, and then I can get those in. And then we're pretty much at a watertight building as soon as they're glazed, and it's just moving the front door out. But the front door at the moment, couple of issues with it. I would need the steps done outside, I think, that lead up to the house before I swap to this this door out. Otherwise I won't be able to unlock the door as easily. But I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Anyway, you'll see me fit the thunder, if you can hear that. You'll see me fit that back door next.
This is the curse of trying to film things. One of us must have knocked the camera. Probably not me, maybe me. And as a result, you kind of missed me fitting it, because you can't really see it here. I am sorry about that. And I'm sadly not going to take it back out to refit it, because the brickwork, you can see it's all been repaired around there. It it's not very strong. And you don't want to be taking these fixings in and out, but it's masonry fixing, similar methodology to the door frame. And then we went on to do the box bay window, which if you cut this seal wrong would really hamper you. So annoyingly, again, the brickwork needed cutting off flush with the outside skin to match the other side where I'd done a repair, and the cavities are going to be closed off round this section. So we just silicone the back edge, trying to fix these in and fit all these frames together in a way where it doesn't weaken the structure. So we want it to be square, symmetrical with the building. My friend's never fitted these box bay windows either, but he is quite practically minded, and we did manage to figure it out. It wasn't too hard. There are no good resources I found on YouTube on how to actually fit these, and I'm probably not the person to be teaching people how to fit windows. So these are just fitted to the outside skin, and then I'll be building the roof on top, a small timber framed roof with insulation, and it will be a EPDM rubber roof, but that'll be going on after this. Part of posting this all on YouTube is so other people can see and learn. And that's not necessarily meaning that I'm teaching people how to fit windows. I'm certainly not that person. But this timber window was a bit daunting because I couldn't find any resource online of how to fit bow windows like this, and when it came to the trims and how it actually goes together. And you can see how far they come out, and it's sat on that pebble dash, which does have 2 skins of brickwork. And again, I didn't think it did when I initially bought the place, but you can see here the 2 skins of brickwork and then timber running to the inside. These will actually be the only original bits of timber in the entire build. There's nothing else other than the timber that straps this to the inside of the skin of the build for these. But yeah, it was a bit daunting because there's no instructions that they come with, and you're kind of just figuring it out as you go along from the parts provided. Luckily, it's not the most complicated thing in the world. I guess the bit you could get wrong is probably the measuring. So I did actually need to make the opening very slightly bigger on both sides to fit these windows in. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to keep the windows plumb, which you obviously don't want. But yeah, working above an open cavity isn't also a good idea, especially as you're putting tools that can fit down the cavity on top. And I dropped my hammer down there, which was a bit annoying. So I had to create this little device to fish it out, because the magnet I had wasn't quite strong enough to pull the hammer out and get it past all the snots in the brickwork. But yeah, fitting the window, essentially what you're doing is you're putting each pane in the window and then attaching them to a bay pole. The bay pole is a cylindrical pole which has a piece of metal going through the middle, a bit of what I can tell aluminium or aluminum in American, and this is fixed through with bay pole screws, which I'll show you in a minute. You just go through essentially fixing all these in and then attaching either side of the window directly into the masonry. So the far left and the far right I'm attaching in with masonry screws, which are, I believe, 120 or 130 millimeters long, so 5-ish inches long screws straight into the brickwork as the design for masonry. So if you're ever fitting bay or bow windows, sorry about that flicker, LEDs. If you're fitting bay or bow windows, obviously you need some screws to fix into the poles. These are like a Tek screw with a wafer head. The only annoying bit I'd say about these ones is they are a Phillips head, and Phillips are no good, in my opinion, for big fixings like this particularly. Anything complicated, a Phillips is no good. And that's a rule for life. Yeah, so self-drilling bay pole screws. I had no idea they existed. I tried using Tek screws, and Tek screws are a bit aggressive. So yeah, luckily when I was looking for some slightly longer Tek screws, these came up. They weren't listed as bay pole screws though on the website. So yeah, bay pole screws, they're like 80mm long, and as mentioned, have got that nice sharp head for cutting through into the metal poles. with the front door, this is as wide as composite doors come in through the supplier I was using, which I believe is technically doorstop. But yeah, these are just over a metre wide with the frame round the edge, so good space to obviously to go through where you don't need any trims either side. And I'm just fitting all the ironmongery just before me and my friend Tommy are going to fit this door. So I'm bringing it out again flush with the front of the build. This is what I did on my last build. It just works a little bit better with the space. You get a lot more hallway in a pokey little place like this, and I don't need the storm porch. I have decided not to do a porch over the top of this, other than the temporary one that I fitted here, and that was just to stop rain going down Tommy's back. But it's where this door was top heavy, it required two of us with that 4-5 foot step out the front. Bit of a nuisance, but we got it in, and then I could safely remove the interior door, which was the original front door. It wasn't anything special, it was just a softwood door. It had been in there since it was built, so it was the original door. So it's coming up to 100 years old, but there was nothing particularly special about it. It was just a cheap door even back then. This house doesn't really have many special features other than the bow windows, which I've obviously decided to keep, as quite a few people in the comments were urging me to keep them. I'm glad I did. Again, it's not that much difference in cost per window, I'd say. It was about 30% more money, 40% more money to have bow windows, which in the scheme of the build and the character they keep, or rather add, I think it's worth it. But yeah, this one, again, a similar process, just cutting it out with my recip saw and then placing down the sill. I level the sill, I get the first one fixed in with masonry screws, and it does just about catch on the ring beam from the roof. This is how it was measured, and this is how it was fitted before the timber ones. And then just attaching all those together and then expanding foaming round all the gaps. And that just makes sure that it's all tight. Showing you glazing this one. So when I come to glazing it, you're using plastic beads, and the plastic beads you want to put in the shortest ones first and then the longest ones, so you can bend the longer ones. If need be, I've used a kettle or a heat gun, particularly at this time of year where it's about 2 to 3 degrees Celsius. It does help the plastic bend without you snapping it. So the outside windows and door in, and then round there you can see the box bay windows in with its temporary sheet of Celotex as a roof. And as you go round, yep, needs to tidy up out here. Back door. So it needs to do a bit of brickwork repair around here. And obviously all the trims and whatnot. These ones are all in. Need trims, caps on the ends of the sills. And then there's none around this side. You can see how far they come out, these, and how far these steps are going to have to come out to around about here for the second step. So windows are in, doors are in, and I'm on to the next set of jobs. But thank you very much for staying patient with me through that update. I've got quite a few more bits coming up, and I'm fighting fit, as they would say at the moment. I did have my Achilles damaged and a guillotine fracture in my heel, completely unrelated to building DIY. But yeah, so that slowed me down at the beginning of the video. You see I'm all miserable, and I'm wearing sliders. That's the giveaway. I wasn't wearing boots. But yeah, on to the next jobs. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bear with me.